So we may actually be live right now. I just need to send the link to the
Perfect.
peoples. And yeah, we're live. Welcome everybody.
Great.
There's nobody in the room yet. I will be dropping this link. This is not financial advice. I always say that.
This isn't no financial advice.
No,
Do your own
Reggie
research.
is not giving financial advice today. Um, Somebody's at my
Not today.
door. Hold on. One
Yeah, yeah.
second. We are live talking. Oh, what did I do? Ronan, what are you doing? Good morning. We are live with an update on Okay, one second.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay. Came here for financial advice. Good luck, have fun, go gather. King Reggie in the house. We're just waiting till a couple more people join and we will get started. What are you doing? Come here. Okay, go downstairs. All right. Good morning.
Good morning and then good evening. Good
Good
evening, good
evening.
morning, good night.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Just want to make sure my sound is good, everything is good before we get into it.
Yep.
Quality good.
Let's close all this.
All right. All right, so I think we're good to go. Welcome. Thanks for joining, everybody. Sounds clear. And, some of the people in the chat, I'm sure, probably know a little bit about Gather. But for the people that are joining, that may have seen the ticker or just, a follower of my account and don't really understand the project, I'd like to give like a pretty concise description of what Gather is doing and why I'm, you know, fully supporting this project. If you follow me for trading, you'll probably notice over the past few years I haven't really been bullish fundamentally on much. I've been pretty selective about these things, and it's because the reality is if you're in crypto and you're new, like one of the things you need to understand is that at least 90%, if not higher, of the cryptocurrencies out there are basically empty promises, bullshit, scam, money grab, Ponzi scams, and you can make a ton of money on them, right? But you just need to understand that somebody will be left holding bags, right? Always. And the ones that are fundamentally strong and going to deliver real world adoption, when you look at something like Aave, those are and Chainlink, these are the ones that are able to last through the years. So Gather was founded nearly 3 years ago, basically at the
Yeah.
beginning of one of the worst bear markets ever, right? And
Yeah.
the timing couldn't have been worse. They raised a very modest amount of money in an environment where people were raising 50 million to 100 million to $1 billion, and every month there was like a new ICO raising huge amounts of money. The dev founders were buying Lambos. Reggie raised 300K, so it was very modest, and it was right at the beginning of the bear market. So I would say the first thing that shows me how serious Gather is the fact that they're still here, continuing to grow and develop and advance through 3 years later off of very minimal capital. It shows a lot of grit, hustle, grind, and the fact that they're really here to build a business. So that's number one for me. So what is this business that Gather is building? I've been trying to actually connect them with some people in America and different businesses to get them more mainstream adoption. So I have to explain to people that are outside of crypto what Gather does. So pretty well versed at it. But what I would say is that Gather has a WebMiner plugin that people can run on their own apps, websites, content creators. Like myself, if you have a blog or something like that, or a streaming service, you can run Gather. And basically, what Gather does is behind the scenes, it takes some of the computing power from your viewers or your fans, your followers, and so nominal an amount that they will not see a a noticeable change in performance. The performance will be
No.
absolutely the same. This web miner is tested. And what they do with that is they use that to mine cryptocurrency, Gather, and others, as well as they take some of the computing power and are able to package that and sell it to enterprises for cloud services. And as you know, obviously, AWS, cloud computing, Google, Microsoft, everybody, all the big heavy hitters offer this. The thing is, being that Gather's so small, and they're getting the computing power from a whole millions of people that are running it in the background, they're able to then sell that computing power for 10% of what Amazon would charge. Is that correct, Reggie?
Significantly cheaper than existing centralized solutions, yes.
Yeah.
And because that money goes back to publishers at the end of the day, that's why we can actually pay publishers more in a non-niche audience. That's why they earn more with Gather, and that only increases over time as we scale.
Right. So picture me going to pitch somebody that has a website like, let's say, World Star or something, right? The whole catch is that we want them to ultimately not have to give us these shitty ads, right? When you look at videos, you get 15-second ad that you can't skip up, and if you click on it, it brings you to another page. It sucks. I stopped going to the website. But these are established businesses now, especially for urban businesses. Here's the reality. You know, when you go to a marketing firm to get paid for your ads, they're looking at your demographics. They're looking to see who's watching these videos, and they're valuing your content viewers based off of their race and their demographics and whatnot, and they might pay you less than somebody else, even though you have more viewers. They're more loyal to you. They love your stuff, but there might be somebody else doing a similar thing that has a different viewership, and they're going to get paid more than you. Gather, what's really dope about Gather is it doesn't matter who's watching your stuff, right? You're
Where
just
they're
getting,
from, none of
yeah,
that, yeah.
it doesn't matter. So your audience could be in the middle of fucking nowhere and they're not going to buy shit, but you're getting their computing power for as much the amount of time that they're viewing your stuff. That's what you earn, right? It doesn't matter who's watching it. So that's like a huge sell to me. But the thing is, if you're a big company that's relying on ad revenue, like what CEO is going to be like, yeah, I'm going to try this niche cryptocurrency Gather. I'm just going to turn off my ads. I'm going to go for it, right? Like what? That's too much risk. Nobody would ever do that. So the cool part about Gather is you can run it as well as your ads. Ultimately, we would, it would be better for us, the viewers, if they were to phase out the ads. But you can run it on top of your ads already. They won't see a difference, and they get 140% more than what they get for the ads. So in essence, they're getting
Right.
140% extra revenue on top, and they have that ability to share that revenue with the viewers. So you could think of what that looks like. Okay, WorldStar is now paying their viewers to watch their videos, right? So if you're getting 140%, if I was the owner, I would say, yeah, I'll give them 40%. So I'll get double the amount of money, and I'll also pay them a little bit. Just that's great for PR. So what do you think?
I mean, you're giving back to your users at the end of the day, right? Like, one thing which I think is really important about Gather is that it does not support clickbait, right? Like, it is based on time spent and not clicks. So clickbait stops with Gather because you could click on an article 100 times. That's not going to do shit. You need to be actually engaging with that content. This pushes content creators to make meaningful content again, and not just a bunch of spam crap. And I mean, excuse my French here, right? But that's what you're seeing in a lot of different blogs and articles and all these places. And the loyalty aspect, I think, is important as we go forward because the internet's huge. You have so many sites. You have content that's similar, very similar, right? If
Right.
you have site A and site B, but site A is giving you, let's say, some 10% back, in whatever form of currency, you're going to go to side A if the content's the same, mind you.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like you have three different wins across the board. The content creator wins because they're going to make more money.
Yes.
The content viewer wins because they're either going to get paid to watch the same thing that they've always watched and enjoyed watching, so you get paid, or they're going to have an adless experience. So that's great. And then the enterprise wins because they're paying 10%, 10 cents on the dollar of what they would have paid Amazon or somebody else for the same cloud computing services, right?
Correct.
So this is a fantastic idea. It's very simple for someone with a brain to understand that if executed, this could be huge, completely revolutionary, in fact. But that's the thing about crypto. We get a lot of promises. So there's two different types of projects. There's some that it's rare that have an idea like this that everybody could see the utility in this. They could see the upside here. And then you have others that have these kooky ideas to decentralize something that doesn't need to happen at all. That it doesn't make any fucking sense. It's a problem that doesn't need to be solved. This I would put into the category of the actual idea that makes sense. But amongst those, so few will actually deliver and execute. And when you're doing fundamental analysis, you have to be able to speculate on whether this team and this project is actually going to do something, or do they just want your money. So that's where I'll turn this over to you. Where do we stand as far as development? I know mainnet is around the corner. Why should somebody watching this believe that you guys will absolutely execute on your plans? And what does that real world adoption actually look like as we're on the cusp of the next phase?
Sure. I'm gonna wind it back, like, so it kind of relates, and to provide a little context about how we're very execution focused, right? Like 3 years ago, 2 years ago, before we had raised our private sale, before we raised the 960K and all of that, we had landed our first $4 billion client. Like, when there was almost nothing. I'll be very honest. We had the web miner, which was pre-pivot, what I put in chat the other day, right? And we landed this client, thanks to our CTO, of course, as a POC back then for cloud computing.
POC.
That was then.
Person of color.
Proof of concept. Yeah. So we landed it back then, and this was in the height of the bear still, and we did it then. And after we closed these funds, or even winding back before then, we signed up all these new clients with us because we had the web miner live, the version 1, and people tested it, they used it, and it just made sense, right? We had a lot of people sign up, and when we raised the funds, we went balls to the wall. I'm not going to lie, like from hiring, from expansion. Now, I'm going to mention a couple of things, and it creates more context. When someone starts a project or a tech company, etc., and you're going to you might hear this from me, is that we treat this as a business and not like some side hustle, garage fucking, excuse my French, sorry, project or something, like a high school project or some crap. No, this is a very serious business with a lot of stakeholders, and that's how you have to approach it, right? So yeah, we hit the ground running. We already had all these clients set up, and a lot of companies, what they do is they will outsource all their dev immediately so they can deliver faster. But if for long-term growth of a company, that's not good. You want in-house devs. And we took the executive decision that it takes time. It takes time to find the right people to have them on roll as full-time employees under contracts, etc. So we did that, and it took us 3 months, and we got fantastic people. We have a very strong dev team right now. And we started delivering slowly, the architecture, all of it. How does everything look? And throughout that time, we had all these partnerships come out. We had new clients signing up all the time. We hired a lot of people, and a lot of senior people as well have come on board. There's expansion of the companies themselves, foundation, and now we have mainnet, and these products are now actually coming out live, right? So testnet version 1 is out. You can see it's a very basic testnet, if you will. It's a block explorer plus the wallet. Now testnet version in 9 minutes, something will be coming out.
Oh.
Something will be coming out in 9 minutes from now.
Cool.
10:30. And then so 10:30 a.m. EST or 6:30 Dubai time. That's coming out. We have mainnet around the corner. We have all these clients. We're hiring a vice president of cloud sales, which will groom to be the head of sales rather. And now it's about scale and adoption. We have you don't need to take my word for it. You don't need to take anyone's word for it. But just look at the history of Gather from these 3 years and this last 6 months. and what we've been able to accomplish. I mean, leave all that aside. We had a fund, right? They made their first investment into Gather, into crypto, rather, in all honesty, because they see the value in what we're doing. These funds don't just put in money for like nothing, right? It is money at the end of the day. The foundation is going live right now. We're talking to external members. What else? I mean, and then yeah, if you look at when we listed, when we first had our private sale, we've been scaling up, like where we're going from exchanges as well, right? We started on BitDump, now we're on BitMax. We're moving slowly. It's about sustainable growth here. You know, it's not a sprint. I mean, it's not a well, what's the term?
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way I see it is like, obviously everybody is anticipating mainnet, but as an investor, or a speculator rather, we're kind of like the things that take my or appealing or are appealing to me is it's like you're basically betting on Gather being a successful business, because the more successful Gather is, there's a vest interest for the token holders, specifically masternode holders
Correct.
or stakers, because you're going to be reimbursed with what is it,
USDT.
USDT, on the revenue of the actual business. This is another thing that separates Gather from most other projects, in my opinion, is that your scheduled projected revenue monthly, once you
About
go
four hundred
live,
thousand.
yeah, it's about
Yeah,
400,000. So
or
that's
something
with
like
the
that. Yeah.
existing clients that you have. Now,
Correct.
if you're able to prove that this is working, I would assume that it would be easier to attract more clients, because you're selling them. You're basically, think of the sale like we already talked about this. I don't need to go over it again. But if you're going to sell cloud services, you say, hey, I'll charge you 10 cents on the dollar on what you're paying. A lot of people are going to go for that, especially in this
For
economy
sure.
right now. You go
100%.
to a content producer and say, hey, how would you like to make twice as much money with doing nothing, and also pay your people for watching your stuff for free.
Sure. Yeah.
So, and I
I
have
mean,
this and this and this business is doing it successfully and everybody loves it. Why don't you give it a shot? And it's super easy.
just talking about biz dev and leads. I mean, we've talked about it personally right now that we're everyone's massively overworked right now because of everything that's going on, and that's something that's being hit very hard. Like, there's a lot of leads in a lot of different angles happening. That's just something that we have to do as a business, right? That's how you treat
Right.
these things. There are leads at the end of the day. And our focus for let's say this year is just scale and adoption. There's no worries about proof of tech or any of that crap at this point. It's now, okay, we need more customers, we need to scale up, and we need to go to the next level, right? This Series A or the things that are happening right now would not happen if people didn't understand what's actually happening
Right.
with us,
So
with
what's
Gather, and where we're going.
serious? So you're doing you're so I tweeted the other day that something that you wrote in Telegram about how you guys started with 300K, and you hit the bear market hit, and you guys were all eating ramen, and you had to even put your own money into it to keep the thing afloat. I mean, there were dark days. We didn't know what was going to
I
happen.
remember. I remember.
Yeah, I remember too. We had many a conversation like, fuck, like this is crazy. Like, we're going all in, we're fully committed. How do you guys stand from like a treasury perspective now?
Okay.
Um, and you're doing Series A raise. Some of the people watching may not understand what that means, but you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I'll explain how that actually came in place. Is that so? With ELA Capital or Ella Capital coming in at a hybrid round and a CD, so that means there's no valuation established on the company at that point, right? And that's because they just wanted to get in. The conversation was like that. Now, after we announced that, our plan was always to have a Series A fundraise, which is an equity and a hybrid token fundraise, like 3, 4 months down the line. We knew we had to do that because we needed to increase the burn rate, we needed to increase the customer acquisition. So that means sales staff, online funnels, things like that. But once we announced it, the inbound interest was so crazy that we're like, we need to close this now. I mean, you know what's happening internally and stuff. We need to close this right now. We need to close this right now because just that one announcement. So a
So you're
Series A
having no
fundraise.
problem acquiring capital in Series A, is what you're saying.
No, let's
Right,
just put it like, yeah, leave it at that.
right. So what's your plans for that capital? Are you going to
Acquisition.
buy a Lambo?
No, acquisition, customer acquisition, customer acquisition, customer acquisition.
So what does that look like? Like basically you're buying
Like, let's
customers?
say we're buying customers, we're acquiring new customers, new clientele, new businesses. That is what majority of these funds are going to be used for. Scaling up the business, essentially.
Right. Right. So
That's the main.
that's like a cloud computing company or somebody that's already selling services to as cloud,
Yeah.
and you buy
So,
them, and now you
so
have their
part
clients and then get them on Gather.
Correct. So part of these funds will be used to acquire an existing cloud solutions company because that lowers our time to acquire these customers. If we were to go and spend the same amount of money to acquire the same amount of users, we're going to spend more money and it's going to take us more time. Whereas if we acquire a company outright, we immediately gain those users. And for their users, they don't see a change in their services they receive. But in the back end, they're just switching from that company's technology to Gather's.
Right. Right. Interesting. Um, hmm.
It's a good way to scale quickly
Yeah,
because that's the name of the
absolutely.
game. Where at this point, because at this point we are first mover in our own niche at all together, right? Set differently, we have different competitors and stuff, but together we're in our own niche. That means we're a first mover, and maintaining that first mover advantage is very, very, very important, right? So this is lowering the time to acquisition of customers is one of the key metrics essentially.
Right. So like I'm looking at the chat right now. Robert Davis says this is way beyond bat. And I agree with you, Robert. It is. And you compare it to something like Golem or Bat, that these are projects that raised, 8 figures, some 9 figures 3 years ago. And what have they done, really? Like what have they done to deserve these $500 million valuations? They haven't done shit. And this guy raised 300K, and
We
you
built the
know,
MVP.
we're
We went
about
and
to start
presented in
making
Rise
money.
Hong Kong.
We're about to
Yeah.
start making money straight up. Like the business is going to start making money right now. And the craziest thing about it is 20% of the USD revenue is going to be used to buy back and burn Gather.
And
Is that
burn.
correct?
Yes.
Right. So
Correct.
that's
Correct.
so that would create, a buy pressure to counter any sell pressure. Um, See, I'm thinking about it like I'm looking at like where the market cap is now, and like let's say there was a large deal. Let's if you think of it this way, if they make $1 million in cloud, they're going to be using 200,000 to buy the token, and
And burn them.
burn them. So
Correct.
I look at Telegram. If somebody bought $200,000 worth of Gather right now, they'd be wanking themselves. They'd be very excited, right? But that person buying 200,000 on the market is ultimately going to sell it. The big difference is they're not going to burn it. So, that's a built-in buy pressure into a project that I don't think I've seen in crypto. I know BNB was doing a ton of burning, and Luna actually. Luna is has a burning model, that if you look at Luna's chart, you can see what that's doing. But that's pretty exciting stuff. The other thing that we haven't touched on that I actually need more explanation because I'm not too tech savvy, is like what
Sure.
does child chains even like look like, and what does that mean for the bat ecosystem? I mean bat gather ecosystem. Like
I
is this just like a thing on the peripheral on the side, or is this a legit part of the business?
no. This is a legit part of the business that I mean, in the last 2 weeks, not trying to leak too much of the internal information that's going on. By the way, we just announced testnet version 2. You can now sign up for the testnet version of the webminer. So anyone just check out the announcement channel on Telegram. Go sign up. You'll be able to play around with the webminer, etc. The publisher dashboard. Just put in your email, etc. Just quick announcement.
Awesome.
Uh,
Testnet version 2 out now. Check it out.
yep. So we're talking about child chains. Trying not to divulge too much. So essentially, what happens is people can come and deploy on our blockchain, right? They don't have to go find miners. They don't have to build their own blockchain. It's very simple to do. And all their hash power is secured by the parent chain. Where does hash power come from the layer one or the main blockchain? It's coming from websites and publishers, right? This could be for whatever use case you want. It could be NFT related, for example, NFTs that are coming to masternode holders so they don't have to sell their nodes, etc. It could be for private permission blockchains for enterprises, which is what they want, right? They don't want their transactions to be public. Or you could have something as similar as an ERC20 token model as well. So it's a very important part, and we're seeing, again, now without saying too much, a lot of inbound interest on that because one is the gas fees that are involved are very, very economical, some of the lowest out there right now, and the features that are involved as well. It's It's WASM compatible. Okay. We are a fork of Ether with our own implementations, etc. So yeah, it's very simple to use. Developers will find it handy.
Right. So if somebody wants to build a DApp or something like that without the hassle of mining and finding the miners and doing that, it's kind of like it's a very noob friendly alternative, is what you're saying.
It's a very extremely. So just giving a somewhat hypothetical example. Um, I am an existing publisher that signed up with Gather. Um, I want to monetize my application, and I want to launch my own token. The Gather Foundation provides grants to new developers to aid adoption, obviously, to come do this. And it's a very easy process to do this. And Gather as a team will help as well, right? It could be something as simple as a distributed application with no token. It could be something with a token. It could be some. The use cases are quite heavy.
Right. So this guy sold his wife and kids to buy Gather. He loves you that much, Reggie.
Uh, thank you for the support, but I feel bad for your wife and kids. Yeah,
Depends on who he sold them to, right?
so yeah, true that.
So
Oh,
what else? What
in the
else? What
chat.
else? Anything else going on you want to talk about?
Yeah, sure. So let's go with a quick recap. So I think the last 2 weeks, we had test numbers. One come out. We had ELA Cap putting in money into us. We listed on BitMax. We had staking come out. We closed our fourth batch of master nodes as well, which went super quick, even at those prices, which is
Yeah.
considerable.
Yeah.
And the amount of supply that's actually locked up is going high, and we had to actually go over the original plan 80 as well. What else happened? Right, just anywhere out there, we are currently looking for a vice president of cloud sales. So if anyone has a similar background and is interested, please apply. We're also looking for a copywriter, a social media executive rather. So again, please apply. There's quite a few open roles, both tech and non-tech. Always look for great people to help us and join us. I think that's a good recap of what's happened in the last couple of weeks, per se. Um, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we covered the Series A goals from here. Like I mentioned this. Our biggest thing is just customer acquisition, which is easy for us. It's very easy to go and sell to mid-level, small-level publishers, being like, "Hey, here's another way to make money. You don't have to bombard your users with ad, or you don't have to use clickbait content because I'm sure content writers don't enjoy making clickbait content, right? That's easy to sell, and even on cloud services as well, it's not hard because of the cost benefit and decentralization. I mean, people have seen that in Fura, etc., all went down pretty heavily. You had outages. I wouldn't say frequently, but they've happened. Um, Foundation, yeah. I think the voting form internally has been finished, and they're now just designing the web pages, etc., for proposals to come up. I know a bunch of people are going to be applying, so there's all right. They voted me for the Gather team
Yeah.
seat.
You're the
So there's going to
emperor.
be one. There's going to be one seat for the child chains. There's going to be one seat for the publishers. There's going to be one seat for masternode holders and one seat for stakers. So everyone will come and apply, and then again, it's up to the community to come and vote who they want on that board. So
Hmm.
that's going to be happening very, very soon.
Who do you
And
want
then,
on the board?
I haven't released my endorsements yet.
No.
Not yet, not yet. I have not. Let the list come up.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I think one thing I wanted to talk about is like how do we actually work as a company and how does this whole structure fit in together? Because there are multiple companies within Gather, right? Gather Foundation is one separate entity, and then you have the Gather operating entities. So just to explain this, once the whole foundation is set up, right, they're going to appoint, or a vote will go on to appoint these Gather operating companies a 5-year renewable contract, right, to do the marketing, to do the development, to do the operations for the Gather ecosystem as we grow. So if everyone here is not doing their job, someone else can do it. But that's what the idea is, and that's how you actually kind of keep it fair, right? It's not just one group of people controlling everything at the end of the day. Our job here is to get it to a level where it can self-sustain over a long period of time. But if we're not doing that job correctly, everyone's replaceable. We're here to deliver. So talking about processes and maybe some other things, we use things like Monday, we use Slack, we use all the Atlassian tools for tech products. We have daily calls with the team or like with different members. There's right now, I think about 30 33 or 34 employees in Gather. This includes on-demand developers for skill gaps, as a stopgap measure, and then our full-time employees as well. There are multiple companies in different jurisdictions. Again, we do this for regulatory purposes and to also de-risk, because as you guys know, what's happening with crypto, SEC, blah blah blah. There's so many things to consider, right?
Yeah.
We take that very seriously. Oh, we hired a new law firm very recently as well, because we need to kind of be a little more formal since we're growing so fast, right? So Stephen needed a lot more help in terms of the amount of legal paperwork that was happening with all this administration, etc. that's going on. And yeah, I think it's a fairly easy way to explain it.
Yeah.
For
I
in
think
terms of how we
we've
kind
said
of
a
operate.
lot. I mean, I guess maybe I have I don't know if the room has any questions, but I'll ask, like, what do you make of crypto now versus crypto when you guys first launched? Like, how have things changed? What's stayed the same? You know, and honestly, like, because I look at like these top 100 projects that, these are all valued at upwards of 700 million or more, most of them in the billions, and some of them make sense to me actually, but then there's a good amount of them that don't make any sense to me. And I look at
Sure.
Gather at like 25 million, and I'm just comparison shopping. You know, why would something like Filecoin be a fully diluted value of 250 billion? Like, why is Golem and Bat, like Golem, for instance, it's still like 500 million. What clients did they onboard? What are they doing? You know, all these
Legacy.
projects, they only make money by selling you their tokens. That's how they make money. Gather is going to make US dollar or Dubai dollar, whatever money you're going to make. You're going to have a business that makes money, and then, you don't need to sell the tokens to stay open. That's that's the key difference
That's the
for me.
one.
But like, what about these projects in the top 100? Which ones do you like, and which ones, don't make any sense?
I'm reading the chat. So you're talking about Golem, you're talking about Filecoin, and Definity's coming out right now. I think one of the biggest things and why they have these let's say large token-based valuations is because they have those legacy. They raised it so long ago, they raised so much money. It's just going to happen. I mean, kind of rewinding back the seed round, I think we mentioned that this is all we need right now to deliver an MVP and prove what we're trying to achieve actually makes sense, and then we raise later. And that's always been the goal, right? That's why our thing was, let's do Series A in a couple of months, let's get everything out there, and then do it, right? But now we're so close and everything's fine, right? That's the aim. Take what we need and just keep going. Don't
Right.
go raise $1 billion and I don't know what the hell do you even spend $100 million on? Like, seriously speaking, there's only so much you can acquire, and excuse me, as an early stage growth company, I this shit boggles my mind. It really does, and because I am a startup founder, because this is not my first startup business, right?
Right.
It really boggles my mind. There's something known as a lean startup methodology. Some people might know what it is, might not, but you follow this, you deliver, you iterate, you keep going. Yeah. So my thoughts are on these extremely large raises and large valuations. They're from like 3 years ago, 2 years ago. They raised so much money, so their valuations are just that high, and their legacy. That's it. We raised under $1 million in our private sales still
Right, which
after
was
3 years.
also, you could have raised way more from the
Oh yeah,
demand that filled up in like seconds. So,
yes.
yeah.
45 seconds if I remember. 45
45
seconds
seconds it was sold out. Which would
sold
imply
out.
that you could have raised more money had you been the greedy
Wow.
type, you know?
Yes, we could have.
These are the things that you have to pay attention to, guys. Look at, who's delivering, who's taking your money, what the model looks like. I think it's very simple. Um, as far as like what I mean, I don't know. I think we've said too much. I mean, we've said enough. Like, I don't know what else to say at
Yeah,
this point.
nothing.
We've went through the updates. Um, I know people are asking about like streaming services. Like, if a streaming service were to partner with Gather, what would that look like? Like, what would that mean?
In terms of like when you're visiting it or using it.
No, like what's the relationship look like? So
Oh,
let's say there
sure.
was a streaming service that offers streaming. Pick one. if they were to implement Gather, what does it mean?
It'd be big for the company. It'd be big for everyone. I think so. I think it'd be very big.
Right.
That gives us just credibility, extreme amount of credibility. Like, how do you go from one tier of customers to the next, right? It's that you get one blue chip. That's the best way to do it because everyone else will fall in line. Or you go the other way. You get the smaller ones and you start building up. That's generally it. So it would be good all around, right? There's credibility, more people start adopting, and that's the name of the game here.
Right.
I
So
think I saw a
so
couple of
so,
questions.
so the just to elaborate, like the partnership would look as those people, like their clients that are using their streaming service, would be mining Gather in essence.
Correct. They would be securing the Gather blockchain and providing certain amount of processing power to enterprises and cloud consumers. Yes, the
Right.
cloud companies. Yes.
Could you foresee, like, let's say if you were to have like a client that was larger than what we're used to, is there like a way to do you need to deliver the cloud computing like immediately, or it goes away, or can you store it? And because I'm not, I have no idea. I'm
Sure.
running the risk of sounding like an idiot here, but like, do you foresee a potential for, well, maybe we have too many people mining Gather and we don't have someone to sell it to, like.
Correct. That's a very valid point. I think in the chat a couple of times I've mentioned this. In the early stages of any company, any market, we're a marketplace at the end of the day, right? We are. You need to ensure supply and demand is evenly matched, and you need to keep it have controlled growth over time. So if you have just one side where, let's say, there's just a lot of demand for cloud computing but not enough websites or not enough nodes, there's going to be an impact on the secondary market. I'll be very honest about that, right? So you have to match that supply and demand and scale it over time, well, both sides, to a point where, okay, you can let it scale on its own without having to mitigate, is maybe the right word to use. So to answer the question directly, let's say there's a very large streaming client that came in. Since we have a very large cloud customer already, they would be matched essentially, right? But that's how you scale that.
Hmm. Interesting. Cool. You said there were questions in the chat.
Yeah, I saw one. I could see the company later down the road getting approached by a bigger company for an acquisition. What is Reggie's stance on that, and what would he achieve before things? So the thing is, right? You need to understand the Gather Foundation and the Gather operating entities are two separate groups, right? Gather Foundation is what looks after the whole ecosystem at a 30,000-foot view, whereas the Gather operating companies are responsible for marketing, development, and operations on a day-to-day basis, right? So if they were to come and try to acquire us at that point, we need to see what the foundation would say about the potential impact on the ecosystem. Because if these group of companies are here to deliver for the ecosystem, because that's what's going to happen, the foundation is awarding a contract, or depending on passing the vote, to these group of companies, right? That's how we keep it democratized. I can't say that word right now. That's how we keep it sort of even playing field, not too much power in just one group of people's hands. And that's why the foundation exists. So if everything were there, it's possible. And that's why a Series A is happening, right? And that's why these people are putting in money. That's what it is. What would we want to hit? I would have to open our financial projections right now and answer you. But I would want to see extreme scale. I would want to see a large number of users, a lot of DAUs. I would want to see MRR, monthly recurring revenue, increasing month on month, like heavily. Hockey stick growth is what the term is known as. Those are some very good metrics and KPIs to have when you start thinking of something like that.
So, like, what would an acquisition look like for the token holders?
Good
We
question.
don't know.
Depends
This
on
is
who's
theoretical
acquiring.
here.
Yeah, we're talking about. It depends on who's acquiring. What is the purpose for acquisition? Are they just here to take the tech? Or I couldn't say. If obviously the foundation isn't going to let these group of companies get acquired if there's going to be an impact on the ecosystem, right? That's not going to happen.
Right.
So it depends on the situation.
What's the
but I
function
think
of gathered token, and where would the buy pressure come from?
that's something I want to be a little careful of.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
will.
Yeah, I don't know if you can. What's the
Yeah.
function of the token?
Okay. It's got one is the
Like,
base
where's the
layer.
demand coming from?
That's okay. One thing I'll refer you to, if any of the admins from the Telegram channel are here, could you just link the token economy doc? That should answer everything pretty clearly, I think. Or if you're not in the Telegram group. Um, the other part is the function of the Gather token is one, it provides security and stability to the network. So staking, masternodes, etc. It's used as a base layer payment system within the whole ecosystem. It's not a problem at all, my pleasure. It's used as a base layer settlement currency. So from the child chains, these blockchains that are deploying on us, right? They need to pay in gas fees for transactions. Again, very low, but they need to do that as an techies anti-civil measures or non-spam resistance for non-techies. Masternode that provides payouts, fuel for the whole ecosystem. I think those are some of the biggest use cases out there. And again, securing the Gather blockchain itself, right, via staking and masternodes.
Is there a governance component as well?
Yes, right. My bad. One Gather equals one vote, right? Oh. And anyone who holds Gather can vote on proposals. How does the governance system actually work? I think there is a link somewhere I'll share in chat where you can see how governance works. Anyone can come make a proposal. It's going to be like 50 Gather, if I'm not mistaken. Mm-hmm. You can make a proposal. If it passes, you need to have a certain percent of circulating supply approve that proposal, and then it goes to the foundation to finally pass or no. And again, the foundation, the external members, the internal members, like for example, these child chain members, publishers, masternodes, stakers, they all need to be approved by the token holders. The token holders need to vote and say, yes, we like this person. They're going to do good for the ecosystem. Or no, this guy's not worth it. This guy's clearly here just for the money or whatever.
Hmm. So theoretically, if I had enough Gather, could I vote for Foz to be fired?
Yes.
I could. Okay.
So I love you, bro. I love you, bro.
Not that I would, but it's good to know that I could.
Yes,
we could do it twice.
Shit, this is dirty, bro.
Twice. Yeah. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. No, accountability is big. I mean, I'm not sure if it was been told publicly, but we fired co-founders. We've done that because they were not up to scratch with what the company needed at this point. We've done that. We've demoted people. So if someone is not pulling up their shorts, bye-bye. We have a community so big, they're very supportive of us. We have to hold ourselves to higher standards of accountability. Just what it is. If I'm not doing my job, I would expect people to come and say, Reggie, fuck off, you're not doing your job. Excuse my French again, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, Darfex, I mean, it's so... This is... Okay, so follow-up question on what would protect the Gather network from a takeover then? Well, the foundation and the voting, no?
Yes. The Gather network from a technical level or from like an acquisition level?
I think he's talking about like from an acquisition level.
Existing equity holders would say no.
Right. If it wasn't beneficial for them.
Yeah, and the foundation would step in. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. So speaking of like ELA, for the people that missed that, are they on the foundation? Like what's their?
They're considering the foundation right now. We wanted to just speed it up and get it done at that point, or rather they did. For them, I don't want to say anything too quickly.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So is there anybody out there that you would want on the foundation, like that you think?
I do.
Who? If you could pick, if you could take your pick, like who would you have on the foundation?
I'm going to talk about external members, so people that we're searching for and where we want on the board. So they're not from the ecosystem itself. I think the foundation needs to have 3 core expertise. So it needs to be, 1 is crypto related, 2 is publisher related. So someone from the marketing world, from the advertising world has to be there. I want to see someone from the cloud computing world as well. And I want to see a venture capitalist, a prominent venture capitalist. And why do I want to see these different peoples? One is from crypto itself, you need to have that know-how of what's happening in the ecosystem, right? Things are changing every day. Publishers, it's very clear. Our product is geared towards a certain audience. Cloud computing is the same reason. And why a venture capitalist? Because Gather, the foundation, has brands. How it operates, how it governs itself, how it governs the ecosystem, monetary policy. So it could be a venture capitalist, it could be a financial services house. One of those is what you want there. You want that expertise. I would want from the external members.
Arian Karabasi, do you plan on working with third world companies, country companies, third world country companies? No,
Yeah, sure.
no, we won't take their money.
No, we won't take their money. Sorry.
Yeah,
Of course, we there's no I mean, that look at the product for publishers. It does not discriminate based on where you are, who you are. It doesn't matter, right? So as long as you can pass basic KYC and AML as a publisher, etc., and you're not doing any shady crap, sure.
yeah. So speaking of, well,
Oh, there's another
let me not say that.
governance thing.
Yeah,
One sec. So that's why we have the foundation, right? Because you look at different forms of governance right now. They have different ways of doing it. It's a snapshot based or whatever it may be, but it falls down to the fact that you can just buy a lot of tokens, hold them, blah blah blah, and you can have power. And that's why we want the foundation.
what do you think
That's
of
why.
like? Sorry, what do you think of
Yeah.
India banning crypto like every other month, quote unquote?
It's stupid.
It's stupid.
Honestly, it's stupid. I mean, unnamed source, blah blah blah. This is happening. Next name source is saying, okay, we're not banning it. It's until like, look, I don't know why they're doing this. Maybe they're trying to fill their bags. God knows what they're trying to do. But in all honesty, until it is tabled in Parliament publicly for everyone to see with the bill, don't pay attention. These literally these reporters in India, they're just calling someone and be like, hey, what's the news? You got any rumors for me? That's literally it. That's what you're seeing. And it just spreads like wildfire.
Right. So do you think like
when
what,
is main
when is Maine launch?
main we get this question 5 times a day, I swear to God.
Like what's the deal with crypto in India though now? Like because like I'm thinking about it this way, like gather needs users, gather needs clients to sell to. The amount of viewers that are watching something or on a website, um, like I think like India is like kind of perfect for this. And like
It
India
is.
gets a pretty negative rap in crypto, partially due to racism in fact, but um,
Sure.
when you think there's a lot of fucking people in India, there's a lot of broke people over there too, right? Like I could see
Correct.
like they would be incentivized if they got paid, something just for like watching a movie, like I could see that being popular over there.
India has one of the highest mobile penetration rates in the world. Like you have kids, uneducated, like no clothes on their back type of thing, beggars, in all honesty. But they have a smartphone.
Hmm.
And that's why you have so many mobile manufacturers that are trying to do different things, etc. Yeah, I mean, India is a good market for us. If we talk about cloud services, it's huge, and there's no crypto really involved, right? Whatever is being bought, they can pay us in fiat, and we'll settle it however we need to on the back end on exchanges, etc. That's fine. Um, the publisher side, there are ways to move around these things for different jurisdictions
Hmm.
in terms of payments, etc. There are ways to move. Just knowing how is important.
Hmm.
What do you expect to happen after this question has been asked too many times? 5 times every day. So there's someone in the Telegram group. His name is literally When Mainnet.
When mainnet
So
met when Binance.
When Mainnet, when Binance. Yeah, that
Those are the
five
only
times
two
every
things
day.
that matter. Anyway,
Who do you have in mind for a marketing company? In terms of what do you mean, bud? I'll let him come back to that. Has the expected go live revenue still 3.7? No, it's not changed. It's about 400,000. The energy to mine crypto on their phones is passed on to the user. Yeah, but it's not. It's very insignificant. It's like watching an ad. It would be the exact experience.
yeah. So I think we're almost on an hour. I mean, we're 50 minutes in. I think we're gonna wrap up here. You have anything else
Yep.
you'd like to say before we jump off, Reg?
To the community that's watching, thank you for your support. Honestly, because
Awesome
we wouldn't
community.
get. Yes, you guys are the goats. In all honesty, right? Without y'all, we wouldn't have gotten here. This is what it is, right? And yeah, just stay tuned, guys.
Oh, you know what? There's
What
one good
findings are users
question.
in
Let's
industry,
let's answer that question before you jump off because we were talking about this the other day.
Yeah, CoinHide, right? Yeah. Sure. user experience with computing power from a user's device. Sounds similar to CoinHive, which had some negative. Okay, so the problem with CoinHive, and I'm not going to lie, so if people don't know, the reason how Gather actually started was I was hired as a consultant for a website to help them monetize without ads, and I discovered CoinHive. Now, the idea in itself, trade processing power for revenue, is powerful. But I had an advertising background or have an advertising background. I knew that it's not going to be accepted. They didn't have things that made it friendly for publishers. And on top of that, they started out by doing it very, like, in all honesty, they're being shady about it. They weren't getting consent. They weren't letting people use it, letting users know what's up. They weren't providing fiat payouts to publishers. So when you don't do all those things and you use excess amount, I mean, extremely excess amount of computing power, yeah, they generated negative feedback. And we just took all those problems that they didn't address and we kind of bundled it into Gather. Oh, very aggressive. Can we buy your clock? No, sorry. Hey.
Say hey, Reggie. Say hi. You can say it.
Hi.
Hey. Love kid.
NFTs,
clock is not
Reggie.
working.
What's the deal with the NFTs?
Yes. Masternode NFTs, sir. Those are going to be a big one. That's going to be very exciting for Masternode holders. People can buy in and out without having to worry about anything.
Oh, that's pretty dope.
But,
All right, so thanks for watching, everybody. Enjoy your weekend, and stay tuned. Lots of exciting stuff happening for Gather. Say goodbye, everybody.
Yes, sir.
Bye.